Hello everyone, this is Mamdoh Alzarani. I'll be with you today talking about contemporary cybersecurity threat from cyber threat intelligence perspective. My name is Mamdoh and I've been working as a vice president in a financial institution for about 8 years. I have a couple of professional certification in the cybersecurity. Uh, I do manage incident response, security operations center, and the threat management team. Today talk will be covering four main items that are: the first one is the technology modernization, the contemporary cybersecurity threat, and the cyber manhunt, and the need for cyber threat intelligence, the main three levels of cyber intelligence, the tools of the trade, and cyber intelligence in established security operation centers, and conceptual architecture of cyber threat intelligence. You ready, everyone? So let's start. So the first topic is, or the entrance for this presentation is, the technology modernization. Now, why am I mentioning technology modernization in cybersecurity presentation? Well, every single organization relies on legacy systems, whether it is a software, application, or infrastructure. And at some point of time, this organization will face the fact that this infrastructure and these uh, systems will need to be updated, will have to be included in some sort of technology refreshment, or what we call modernization. So it's not only a concept or a fact, it's also a trend and a future fact for every single organization. Now, the Department of Energy has come up with an approach that is considered one of the good approaches available to transfer legacy systems, legacy technologies, and introduce technology modernization in institution. It is simply taking the current infrastructure, transforming the infrastructure, and including a pillar of cybersecurity that is to protect, and then advancement. This is critical because it includes the cybersecurity as a keystone in the designing, implementation, and further enhancement in the future.
Now, one single new trend, that is IoT, uh, mm, and one single trend of the new trends in technology, IoT, is consisting of small devices called Internet of Things, distributed in all over the world. Uh, that is causing a huge issue in terms of cybersecurity. This is only an example of how can IT or technology can become a risk in the near future if we do not take the precautionary measures. And in order to cover these small things, there are a couple of laws that was published in the US. One of them is Smart IoT Act, and the other is the Digital Act. And as an example of how these small things can do huge damage, in 2016, someone has published a code or an open source code that was later known as the Mary attack. This Mary attack almost took the internet down globally, and it is literally the Japanese for the future. Uh, it was this attack from Mary that was launched from small devices was performing a denial of service attack in 2016. The code, after being published, was used in other attacks, one of which is called Satori. This Satori attack, as you can see on the right, the actual hacker was caught, and he was, I believe, imprisoned. And the last one is a recent attack in 2018, Akurai or something similar. This is only to see how new trends can become an obligation for us if we do not consider cybersecurity from the beginning. So today we will be talking about the contemporary cybersecurity threats. And in order to understand how the new trends of technology and threats behave, we need to understand the old-fashioned attacks and the new type of advanced persistent threats. So if you can look at the of the picture on the right here, you can see unsophisticated attackers, or what we know as script kiddies, are performing couple of attacks, um, small to medium attacks, and most likely these attackers are using this type of code or this type of hacking only for amusement, or just grabbing more attention or challenging or similar motives. Now, another type of attackers are the sophisticated hackers. These are because you are online and you have an entity online. They seek your money, they seek an interest, they seek to damage you or to compromise your machines, your network, and pay ransoms or whatever other reason in terms to get financial gain. This is a bit advanced. Now, there is also another attacks, that is the insiders attacks. These are more or less are from former employees seeking financial gain or similar objectives for personal gain. These are dangerous, but they are not as much as the advanced persistent threats. So the ABT, or what we call the advanced persistent threats, is mostly state-sponsored. They seek to spy and weaponize internal resources. So when it is the right moment, they will ignite the fuse. So attacks varies from simple to advanced, and you might just get hacked just because you exist online. And maybe if you are in an organization, you might get hacked because of a previous employee, or in case of the advanced attacks, you might get hacked just because of who you are. Now, the new type of APTs consist of multiple stages and even can extend to multiple stages from 1 month to 3 months to even years of work. Now, these ABTs has been built from 2006 until now to be forming a special breed of attacks. These attacks are forming what we know today as the campaigns. So threats ranges from commodity, advanced and hacktivism approaches. The ABT ones are the most damaging ones, and they are the main risk of today cybersecurity. Uh, Now, campaigns are set of ABT attacks, so there will be multiple attacks from one actor, one threat actor, targeting one entity, and this is what we know as a campaign. These campaigns can be tracked but by what we know as the cyber kill chain that we will explain later in this presentation. The campaigns and the ABTs have some sort of elements that is making them unique from normal attacks. That is, they are persistent, they are complex, and they are targeted. If you can have a look on the right, you can see the first circle. That is to define and explain how ABT is being conducted nowadays. So they start by defining the target. They find and organize the associate of the crime. They build the required tools. They do some open research intelligence from online, from available information. Then they start doing some testing over the detection of this organization. Then they start the sequence of actually engaging with the target from deployment, intrusion, and hacking and exfiltration of data. Now, advanced persistent threats have been around for a while now. It started in 2006, and until now it's still ongoing. The most well-known attacks are state-sponsored and targeted. The first one is the operation, is Aurora operation. This is an ABT group that's been active from 2006. They consist of 4 ABT groups or 4 threat actors. That means there are 4 individual groups been working together to target a multiple or to target multiple organization to achieve one final objective. These 4 entities, they are a military unit known as BLI unit. It is working under the Chinese, and they use very complex operation to achieve their target. One of their main target was Google. They used 80 days in these multiple attacks. The link below describes Google response after discovering the attack. Another attack, a recent one, is the Fancy Bear operation. This is a campaign that was launched from Russia against the US election. It is known as ABT-28 or also Boundstorm and other names. It involved 2 ABT groups with a single objective, that is to change the US election direction. Now, the main entity that was participating in this is a military unit in Russia called GRU and the Federal Security Services of Russia. They use phishing emails to reach their objectives. This made a huge impact in terms of real world. Now, we are moving toward the cyber threat intelligence. This slide will be talking about what is cyber threat intelligence and why it is critical and why all the fuzz around the CTI terminology. Simply put, if you have seen the Mindhunter movie or serials or the Manhunt Unabomber, it's published on Netflix. If you have seen that, it is simply an FBI agent is analyzing the behavior of certain psychopaths and criminals to determine why do they do whatever they have done. Why are they doing that? So it is simply analyzing the actions, the evidences in a technical way to form a judgment to say what are the objectives and who is involved and who have the interest to perform this type of action. This is obviously will be subject to more than one process that will govern the whole CTI process to reach to a final conclusion. So the main tool used in cyber threat intelligence is the diamond module. It is used with the cyber kill chain to extract behavior and provide proper judgment. It consists of 4 main items: capabilities, that is the capabilities of the attacker; the adversary, that is the actual attacker; the infrastructure used by that attacker; and the victim. By these 4 items, we can simply classify who is doing what and why are they doing that. And this is combined with the 7 or 8 steps of the cyber kill chain. We will have a clear picture on cyber threat intelligence. So why do we need cyber threat intelligence? Simply, we need it because threat is coming. So it is not an incident. This is something that will come or something that we prepare ourselves for. We need it to be prepared instead of caught on surprise in an attack or a breach. We also need it to share the information of these attackers who are performing these dangerous acts. And some entities share or share IOCs, and other entities consume IOCs. It is also important that to know that the analysis of threat is not something easy, and it needs processes, it needs an organized and structured methodologies. That's why we have a full science or a full section or a full a new term called cyber threat intelligence. It will also help us in organizations to structure risk profiling. So we have a risk on a certain organization. To profile this risk and to classify it and to present it to business and other areas, we use cyber threat intelligence. But in order to do that, you need to know your business very well to analyze the threat profile. And when I say threat profile, this is when we start with certain businesses and certain sectors. Just for an example, if you are in the financial business, you are different than people working in communication business. The threat profile or the threat landscape or horizon is different from these two sectors. And we need CTI to actually understand who have an interest in targeting our organization. But having the cyber threat intelligence and having the profiles of that cyber threat intelligence will ultimately make us judge and will ultimately make us analyze certain information. So in that terminology, we will be stepping into some biases. So if I have a certain experience with a certain entity, I will be biased against it. If there will be also some fallacies, some wrong assumptions that we have or analysts can have when starting with analyzing certain attacks or certain indication of compromise or certain security incident. And this is, as you can see, is the cyber threat intelligence process life cycle. It starts with the planning and requirements. This is where you prepare yourself, the collection and processing, the analyzing of the actual information, the production, and finally the dissemination of the threat intelligence and the reporting of Sky. Now, once we start talking about cyber threat intelligence, we need to build robust cyber threat intelligence operation by clear concepts. We need also processes, well-documented processes to facilitate the life cycle of the CTI. When we do it in a proper way, we will be able to alert businesses on coming danger before it happens. And this is awesome. We will also enable information security and cybersecurity team to get the buy-in from different teams and different individuals. If you don't have the buy-in, you will most likely suffer from lack of understanding of cybersecurity or the technical terminology that that is in information security. And the clear concepts and action in CTI needs some support from executive. So executive sponsorship is actually a must. So now we will move to the 3 level of cyber threat intelligence. And when we talk about the levels of cyber threat intelligence, this is a mind map of threat intelligence. It will start in the top right with the strategic level, with the operational level, and the tactical level. And if you can see on the left, there is the DRM, that is the digital. The DRM, it is the digital risk monitoring. There is also the people and the processes. These are conceptual understanding of threat intelligence, and most likely whatever you have online or materials or training would not mention the DRM and people and processes. Processes, some extent, yes, but not most likely not the people. So the strategic level is actually divided into 3 main items: the collection, assessment, and focus. The collection is the strategy of how to collect data to identify the threats. The assessment, this is what we do to assess the threat in terms of from strategic point of view. And the focus, this is the time horizon. Is it something close? Is it something short term or long term? The consumer, are they technical staff? Are they operational staff? Are they C-suite executive level? The attack service also, is it only on this organization, this region, this city, or distributed globally, and etc., etc. Now, the strategic level, as described by Adam Mayer in his mind map of threat intelligence, is simply explaining which business area is at what risk. This is what you will have as an output at the strategic level. It will also justify the controls and actions taken by CTI and cybersecurity. If you study, if you collect in the right way, from the right sources of intelligence, if if you do the proper assessment from threat, vulnerability, and impact, and focused your presentation, your talk, your overview on the items described in this slide, you will ultimately have justification. Why do you need certain controls to be enforced? Why do you need to take certain actions to protect the organization against? Now, it will also enable you. This is a plus. It will also enable you to explain the budget expansion reasons and if you have any budgeting requirements. Now, let's move to the operational side. It is simply the active threats currently, the threat campaigns that is taking place today. It also will focus on assets and the risk based on threat profiling. It can also help us in terms of profiling threat actors, and also it will provide us the operational level. It will provide us with up-to-date information. Now, the collection strategy or the collection part in the operational level will also maintain the same approach. Now, the evaluation will be a bit different. This is where you have the core of the cyber threat intelligence, where you will be evaluating the adversaries. You will be giving the judgment on who's doing this and what objective is being sought at this stage. Now, the last stage, that is the tactical one. This is a pure technical stage where you can review, add, collect, document IOCs, indication of compromise, where you do some sort of integration of IOCs with your security operations center, or where would you decide how to consume threat feeds, or how would you build your generation of threat feeds. The three main items in the tactical, as you can see in the picture on the right, the sharing part talking about the sharing protocols, the sticks, the tags, the TLB, and it explains the focus of the tactical level. Now, some of the tools of the trade for cyber threat intelligence is simply open tools published and available online, one of which is built by Jan. It is to maintain a list of APT groups and update them. Now, the good thing about this tool is it simply has a database view. The names is mapped to a separate table, so you can filter by different items. It's also public, so the changes can be proposed to the owner to be updated. You can find this sheet or this database in the below link. Another tool is Threat Miner. This is Threat Miner has APT notes. It's extremely useful when you have certain requirements to look for or certain reporting to present or to offer. While you don't have that much of time, it is built on a very quick engine, so you can just type the keyword that you are looking for. If you are looking for APT reports on USA or certain countries, you just can search them, and you can specify which year you want to look for. Now, it also has automated updates, and it aggregates 11 services of malware analysis, 11 known ones. So it is a good tool to consider. Now, when we talk about threat intelligence, and if you do not have an already established threat intelligence unit, you can still use threat intel in your security operations center. And how do we do that? Simply but by using the diamond module. If you can see it in thread 1 and thread 2, if you can see the adversary 1 and the second adversary, and linked with the cyber kill chain on the left side, by simply linking the cyber kill chain with the diamond module, analyst of threat intel can analyze multiple attacks and actors and link them together to decide whether these attacks are linked together so they can be in one campaign, or decide is this threat actor different from the other threat actor. Now, a more easier step that you can do as of today, if you don't have a cyber threat intelligence unit in your organization, is by using threat intelligence feed. So by simply having threat intel in your SIM tool or in any of your technologies today, either detection or prevention, you can consume feeds from external resources, but you have to know that these are limited feeds and not necessarily will provide you the data or the IPs specific to your organization. It will eventually be with high noise, uh, especially if it is free ones. It is a very simple step and also wanted from many organizations. Another difficult one is to generate threat intel or threat feed. This would require some sort of CTI processes, incident processes, forensic, and it will provide you with strategic value. But you have to note that threat intel or threat feed is definitely not a cyber threat intelligence. The methods of sharing cyber threat intelligence is purely dependent on the threat feeds. And finally, you have to know that the operation of cyber threat intelligence is cyber threat intelligence. This is only an action to integrate and augment some sort of threat intel in your today's cybersecurity. Now, in cyber threat intelligence, the main component used is the cyber kill chain. This is the main function of security operation centers and incident response function. And if you are until now not using cyber kill chain in your SOC or with your IR team, you have to reconsider that. Also, the diamond module. This is the main analysis and the main analysis of methodology of cyber threat intelligence and the analysis of competing hypotheses. This is simply saying when you link cyber kill chain and when you link it with the diamond module, you will have to use a structured methodology to analyze the competing hypotheses. So if you collect technical information and then you are concluded to have the actor is China or North Korea, by using the ACH hypothesis or methodology, you will use a structured scientific methodology to decide whether the threat actor is North Korea or China. The best possible methodology that you can find today. So cyber kill chain from my IR and SOC with the diamond module and the ACH will simply constitute cyber threat intelligence. Now, the cyber threat intelligence, the conceptual architecture and the location and the hierarchy of CTI in your organization is totally dependent on how your organization is built. This is only an example of how CTI can be based. You have the CISO of this, the Chief Information Security Officer. You can directly link the CTI, although that's not the practice. You can link it between the emergency operation incident management directly to the emergency management and incident management, or you can use it directly with the cyber security center, or you can have it in a different function in a different methodology. Now, the CTI, if you have function in the SOC, it will provide support to the SOC. It will also alert the SOC team, and it will also provide some support in terms of triage of IR. It will also enrich data for incident response. It will also facilitate the information sharing. So when an incident occurs, the IOCs or the technical details can be shared from incident response function, shared to the CTI team. The CTI team can prepare it in feeds and then share it to other teams, either in the same organization or external organization. Now, in general, the benefits of the CTI in business can support business decision in terms of what critical action to be taken or whether to use resources in different function or mobilize them in certain action. It will also suggest further budget expansion. Thank you very much for listening. Hopefully you enjoyed today's session, and this is the time for questions. Thank you very much.